Driving for a rideshare app can seem like a straightforward job. Pick up a passenger, drop them off, and move on to the next ride. But sometimes, the most ordinary nights can take an unexpected and chilling turn. In this video, we'll explore unsettling stories from drivers who've encountered the unknown while just trying to do their job. These are their experiences, told exactly as they happened. Buckle up, it's going to be a haunting ride. My name is Travis, and I've been driving for a rideshare app for about 5 years. It's not the most glamorous job, but it pays the bills and gives me some freedom with my schedule. Over the years, I've picked up all kinds of passengers, some polite, some drunk, and others who were just plain odd. But there was one night that I'll never forget, one that made me question everything I thought I knew about the world. It was a chilly, overcast evening in late November. The kind of night where the sky hangs low, and the air feels heavy, almost suffocating. I had just finished a long shift in the city and decided to head toward the outskirts to see if I could catch a few more rides before calling it a night. The suburbs were quieter, and I figured I'd avoid the rowdy crowd leaving the bars downtown. The app pinged, and the pickup location was a small diner off a lonely stretch of highway. When I arrived, the parking lot was nearly empty except for a single car and a dim neon sign that buzzed faintly. A woman stepped out, wearing a long coat and holding a small bag. She waved at me and got in the back seat without saying much. Her name on the app was Mara. She looked to be in her late 30s, with dark hair pulled back into a messy bun and a tired expression that suggested she'd had a long day. "Thanks for coming out here," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. I told her it was no problem and asked if she was heading home. She nodded but didn't elaborate. Her destination was about 30 miles away, through winding back roads surrounded by dense woods. I remember thinking it was an odd route, but the app had it mapped out, so I didn't question it. The first few miles were uneventful. Mara didn't seem interested in talking, so I focused on the road, occasionally glancing at the GPS. About 10 minutes into the drive, things started to feel off. The road seemed darker than it should have been, even for a rural area. The trees on either side of us were so tall and close together that they formed a canopy, blocking out what little moonlight there was. My headlights seemed to struggle against the darkness, casting long, distorted shadows that danced across the pavement. Then, I noticed Mara fidgeting in the back seat. She kept looking out the window, her movements growing increasingly tense. "Is everything okay?" I asked, trying to sound casual. She hesitated before answering. "Have you ever felt like someone's watching you?" Second story. My name is Shen, and I've been driving for rideshare apps for about 3 years. I've seen a lot during my time, strange passengers, funny moments, and a few situations that sent chills down my spine. But one night stands out, a night that still haunts me whenever I think about it, sending that unmistakable shiver through my body. It was late February, a cold and rainy evening. The kind of night where the rain doesn't pour but instead drizzles endlessly, making everything feel damp and uncomfortable. I had just dropped off a passenger in a quieter part of town and was about to call it a night when the app pinged. The pickup was from a rural road just outside the city limits. I hesitated for a second. Rides from places like that always felt a little strange, but it was a slow night, so I accepted. When I arrived, the location was an unlit road surrounded by empty fields. There was a single streetlight flickering at the corner, and a man stood just outside its dim glow. He was tall, wearing a long coat and a wide-brimmed hat that shadowed his face. Something about him immediately put me on edge, but I reminded myself that judging passengers before meeting them wasn't fair. He got in the back seat without saying a word, settling into the darkness of the car. His name on the app was listed as Elliot. I greeted him, but he didn't respond. Instead, he just handed me a piece of paper with an address scribbled on it. I glanced at it and noticed it wasn't far from where we were. "All right, heading there now," I said, trying to keep the mood light. Again, no response. The route was strange, taking us deeper into the countryside. The road was narrow and lined with trees, and the further we went, the darker it seemed to get. Even with my high beams on, it felt like the shadows were pressing against the car, swallowing the light. I glanced in the rearview mirror, but Elliot just sat there, staring straight ahead, his face still obscured by the shadows of his hat. About 10 minutes into the drive, I started feeling uneasy. The GPS showed that we were only a few minutes away, but the area looked completely desolate, no houses, no lights, just an endless stretch of trees. "Are we close?" I asked, breaking the heavy silence. Elliot finally spoke, his voice low and almost mechanical. "You'll know when we're there." Last story. My name is Gavin, and I've been driving for rideshare services for almost 4 years now. It's a decent gig, flexible hours, decent pay if you're smart about it, but it also comes with its share of strange, uncomfortable, and downright terrifying moments. One night in particular made me question whether I should keep doing this job at all. It was a late autumn evening, the kind where the air feels crisp and the streets are scattered with dry leaves that crunch under your tires. I had just dropped someone off in the downtown area and was waiting for my next ride request when the app pinged. The pickup location was about 10 miles out, near the edge of a large park. It seemed odd, but late-night pickups in quiet areas weren't uncommon, so I accepted. When I arrived, the spot was a small parking lot near the park's entrance. The area was eerily quiet, with only the faint sound of wind rustling through the trees. A young woman was standing near a bench, wearing a dark hoodie and holding a backpack. She looked around nervously before hurrying over to the car. "Hi, you're Gavin, right?" she asked as she slid into the back seat. Her voice was shaky, and she avoided making eye contact. Her name on the app was listed as Lena. I nodded. "Yep, heading to the address on the app." She hesitated for a moment. "Yeah, that's right," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Something about her demeanor made me uneasy, but I tried to brush it off. People are allowed to have bad days, I thought. As we pulled out of the parking lot, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Lena kept glancing out the rear window, her fingers gripping the straps of her backpack tightly. About 5 minutes into the drive, she suddenly asked, "Can you lock the doors?" Her request caught me off guard. Sure," I said, hitting the lock button. "Is everything okay?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked out the window again, her eyes scanning the darkness outside. "There was someone watching me at the park," she finally said. "I thought they might have followed me." I felt a chill run down my spine but kept my tone calm. "Did you see them get into a car?" She shook her head. "No, but I don't think they needed one." Being a rideshare driver means dealing with all kinds of people and situations, but some encounters are impossible to forget. The stories shared tonight are a reminder that the unknown is always closer than we think. Thank you for watching, and remember, next time you get into a car, whether as a driver or passenger, keep your eyes open. You never know what might be out there. Stay safe, and we'll see you in the next video.